everybody, Mr. Oliver here, and welcome to another media arts lesson. I thought it was going to be a great idea to do my lesson outside today, but it's actually pretty cold, like still clouds everywhere. Oh well, we're going to have a fun lesson this week, but we got to jump right into things. In fact, I'm going to go inside because it is freezing. I'm going to drop on down into the studio, so here I go. Whoa, that was cool. All right, let's jump right into the lesson. All right, here we are. Now that I've jumped on into the studio, I'm ready to get started. So instead of crashing through the screen, just dropping right in was going to work for me. What will we do next week? I don't know. You'll have to tune in to see. But today is November 2nd, and this video is for the work for the week of November 2nd through 6th. And we are going to find some pictures online, and we're going to make some designs, just like this design for media arts I've made. You like it? I'm pretty proud of it. I think it turned out nicely. You can probably guess that I used Photopea and I did some stroke and drop shadow as my two favorite things to do to my designs. And a little layering there with that mouse and the wire. So we're going to get into that. You're all going to make a logo today, but you're also going to learn how to find images to use and how to do it ethically. So let's jump right in. This week's goals are to learn the fundamentals of graphic design. There are 5 of them. And we're going to look at those. And then you're going to learn how to download images from the internet that are fair use images. Right? We also call those Creative Commons images, but images you're allowed to use. And there's tons of images online that you're able to use. There's also lots of images that you're not allowed to use. I'm going to show you the difference. And we are going to then use Photopea to create a logo. You're going to do, as always, you're going to save it as a JPEG and a PSD. But this time, you're going to attach the JPEG to the assignment. So in Google Classroom, you're going to hit the add work and attach that directly there so I'm able to see it. You'll upload it to Google Drive first, as always. And that's how we're going to see our designs. So hopefully last week Photopea went well for you. I know I had a lot of people come to office hours with questions. So feel free to stop by anytime. It's nice to hang out with you guys anyways. And I'll walk you through the steps on how you can make cool designs with Photopea. First off, I would like to ask you the question of what types of things do you think a graphic designer does as part of the job? So think about that for a minute. If you guessed makes logos, makes designs for letterhead, billboard layout, things like that, graphic designers take graphics and they take words, they combine them to make new images. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start off with a logo that you're going to make. So I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, first off, graphic design. It is the art or profession of using design elements such as typography, that means words, and images to convey information or create an effect. So think about any company you've ever seen. They've got logos. Those logos were designed by graphic designers. Maybe movie posters or album covers or magazine layouts, things like that are all graphic designs. We're going to learn about the fundamentals in creating those. So here are your 5 fundamentals of graphic design. We have line, shape, form, texture, and balance. So 5 things. You probably already know what lines and shapes are. You probably even know the others, but you haven't talked about them in design terms yet. So how can the fundamentals of graphic design help an artist communicate their message? This is probably the #1 essential question that we have as a media arts student, right? How can the fundamentals of design help us communicate their message? Whether you're making a collage or making a logo or even making a video, you want to think about how can you communicate your message. So for this project we're going to work on, it's how can the fundamentals of graphic design help communicate that message? All right, so first off, we have a line. A line is a shape that connects 2 or more points. They can be straight and they can be curvy. So pretty straightforward. All designs generally incorporate some sort of lines. All right, a shape is our next one, right? And a shape is a 2-dimensional area. So it's a closed off line. Really, if you think about a square here, this is just 4 lines connecting, and then it's a different color on the inside. Triangle would be 3. Those are geometric shapes, but they can also be organic, just like a cloud is there or a clover, right? Anything that you recognize when you see, because remember, when you're looking at a drawing of something, it doesn't exist. It was created by an artist by using lines. right? So shapes are closed off lines, pretty straightforward. So designers use lines and they use shapes. Sometimes we take our shapes though and we make them 3D, and that's a form. So a 3D shape can be real or created with light, shadow, and perspective to create the illusion of depth of field. So you see both of these objects look totally three-dimensional. You can feel like you can touch that cube or touch that cylinder. Now look at it carefully. You're really only looking at 3 rectangles, right, that are just connected and then have different coloring and shadow to make it look 3D. With the cylinder, we have an oval, right? And then you have like a rectangle with curved off edges that match the other oval. So by adding those shadows, that's why I like to add shadows to my designs, because it makes them pop on the page, even without having to do anything complicated and making it 3-dimensional like both of these designs. Just by adding a shadow, thinking about how light can play around with your illusion of depth. Depth is a great thing to try and add to any of your work. I like to add depth to my photos a lot, but also you can add it to just about any design that you make. So forms are important. We have lines, shapes, and forms. Also, we have textures, right? When you have a shape or a form, whatever kind of colors it in can create the physical quality of it, which is a texture. So we have got the bricks and the steel and the fur. And if you think about each one of those, you can feel that the bricks are rough without actually touching them. You can feel that the middle one is probably very smooth. You can feel those ridges that are on that corrugated metal or whatever that is there. And then the furs obviously feel soft. So think about how different textures are going to play in your design, right? If you're a motorcycle company, are you going to want a lot of fur in your design? Probably not, right? Is a teddy bear company like Build-A-Bear going to have a lot of stainless steel? Probably not. So think about how textures play into different designs. All right, and then the last one that is super important to think about is balance. The equal distribution of visual weight, how much any one thing attracts the viewer's eye. So we have symmetry and we have asymmetry. So think about this cube here, like this all green Rubik's Cube. It looks complete. It is 100% symmetrical. So you could divide it down the middle, you could divide it across here, and you know that it works, it's balanced because it's right there, centered, and it fits just fine. But if we look at our other design, we have some visual weight that is equally distributed. The size of the cube is about the size of the words. So look for this in designs. A lot of times you'll see something large on one side of the design, and there'll be something also large on the other, even if that's words or things like that. Now, thinking back to our photography unit, which we started with, notice that this is the rule of thirds, right? So you can still use photography composition ideas in designs, right? So you can think about how you apply balance to a photograph, and you can apply balance to a design. So we have symmetry and we have asymmetry. Those are our 5. And here's a little example of what symmetry and asymmetry is, right? So symmetry is repetition and pattern in different ways. When they mirror each other perfectly, they're symmetrical. But when they don't mirror everything exactly, they're asymmetrical. But yet both of these feel balanced, right? We've got about the same amount of things on each side that kind of feel weight. So balance is tricky, but you'll start to notice it as you work with different designs. All right, so the fundamentals of graphic designs. There is a video here that if you would like to watch, I highly recommend. It has a kind of boring voice. This woman does, or this, there's a voice of a woman, almost puts you to sleep, but it covers the 5 designs with examples really well. And so feel free to watch that if you would like a clear understanding of those 5 fundamentals. Now, we have a design here that shows all 5 fundamentals, and I want you to try and see if you can pick out all 5 just by looking at this here. So first off, let's look for lines. Do you see lines? Right. One place that I see lines in this design is in my letters. The letters are really just lines, right? So they're curved lines or they're straight lines. So designs have lines. All right, let's think about shapes. The shape that stands out the most to me are each card that the letters are on, right? Each one is cut out as a shape that kind of plays together. All right, now let's think about forms or 3D objects. Okay, so I like to think of the letter cards. Those are not only are they shapes, but they're forms because they've got that shadow. They feel like they're off the page. Or even better example is thinking of the push pins that look three-dimensional that are holding the words design onto the background. Okay. Now we also have textures, right? Designs can sometimes be messy. When I think of art, I think of like it's not a clean, exact science, and there's all sorts of sticky paint behind this. That's kind of the texture that I'm feeling from this. And then lastly, balance. These letters are not all the same size, are they? Right? Someone's up higher here, and this one's lower. But all together, it feels nice and balanced as they're laid out. So there's how all 5 fundamentals can be applied to a design like this. And as you look at any design, I want you to think about those fundamentals because it was made by a designer that was probably thinking about the basics. Right? If you play basketball, you need to know the fundamentals of dribbling and layups. If you don't know how to dribble and you don't know how to make a layup, you're going to struggle as a basketball player. If you don't understand the 5 fundamentals of design, you'll struggle as a designer. So think about these as you are making your first logo design today. All right, so here we have some kind of fun. That one thing my students absolutely love doing is watching this video with famous logos with hidden messages. So I'm not going to play it for you now, but in all sorts of different famous logos, there are hidden designs. So take a look at this video. It's kind of fun to see if you already knew where they were and where they existed. I'll talk about one right now just because I see it on here. But the FedEx logo, right, for Federal Express. If you've ever noticed, FedEx has a hidden message inside its logo, and the one is this arrow that is inside the E and the X. So that's one, and then there are lots of others in this video too. So kind of a fun video to watch. All right, this woman has a great video about her design process. Feel free to watch that if you want. These are all in the slides that I'm sharing with you. And here is one logo that I made, Oliver Technological Solutions, established in 2005. Right, that was when I first started teaching. And so playing around with different design elements, that's one logo that I have. I like my media arts logo that I made that you saw at the beginning a little bit better, but you get the idea. Okay, so creating a logo. One task of a graphic designer is to design and create logos that businesses use for their projects. So what are some logos that you can think of, right? We already talked about FedEx. Maybe you saw some others on the thumbnail for that video. Let's see if you recognize these ones, and they don't even have words, right? So you've probably seen that one before. That's right, Beats by Dre, right? I don't even have to say this one. We all know it, right? Swoosh, especially living in Portland. And how about this one? All right. So some logos are incredibly powerful. They don't even need words on them, and we associate strongly with them. So all of these designs were created by designers thinking about the fundamentals of design, right? So we've got just a shape as this one, right? We've got a few shapes. If you think about this, we have a curved line and a circle in order to make this, just playing together, and the arches looking like the M for McDonald's. Sometimes logos are of actual words like ESPN, but we have seen this logo so many times that you probably don't even read the letters. It just becomes recognizable to you. And then Canon, I shoot with Canon cameras. And when I see the outline of those letters, I just recognize it right away. So different logos, whether they're just text-based or if they are shape and form-based, right, can be pretty powerful. All right, so let's talk about some other logos too. And I'm willing to bet that you have been to a dentist at some point that had a logo that used these colors, right? Almost every dentist office uses these colors. Some hospitals may use it. One like Zoom Care, I think, has a very similar color pattern of blue and green. And the reason why they do that is because when we see different colors, it makes us think of different things. So if you think about when you're creating a logo, what colors you use help convey a certain idea. So if you're looking for something that's very peaceful or healthy with trust and strength, right, like a doctor's office, these are going to be some colors that we may use. And they may work in some others too. They're probably not going to be using red and yellow because that is like exciting, right? And those aren't the things that we necessarily want out of the dentist. Do you want an exciting trip to the dentist? Probably not. So we're not going to get really deep into color theory and why people use certain colors, but just be thinking about it as you design your logo, whatever feeling you want to kind of express, choosing a color that matches that can help. So some things about that. All right. Here's another Portland company, right? Adidas has their North American headquarters here. And think about the lines and shapes in this design. So you've probably seen Adidas's logo before. And really, if you think about it, it's just a collection of shapes put together to make this kind of flower pattern, right? And then it also plays with text, but super simple, all one color, right? Has its stripes in here, just like you would see on all the products. So it really conveys a lot just by using some shapes. Here is a logo for a Netflix show that I enjoy watching called The Crown. And look at the balance in this logo. I absolutely love it because this is completely symmetrical, right? Other than your letters are different on either side, everything else, the placement, it feels so symmetrical. It's so simple, it's classical, it's elegant, and it matches what you would think of when you think of royalty, because it's a show all about Queen Elizabeth in England. And the crown is literally on top of the O, representing her head. So it all kind of fits together as we think about balance. The secret word is El Salvador. El Salvador. Remember, kids, it's El Salvador. That's a country in Central America. That's your secret word. Don't forget to put it on the quiz. All right, so that's your secret word. Don't forget it. And moving right along, let's talk about how we're going to find some images online. So you've probably searched for things before just by going to Google, typing in the search bar, clicking images, and you find pictures, right? This is a normal way to find images that we need to use all the time. But we need to talk about which ones we have the rights to use and why that is. So true or false? Can we, let's look at this question. Any picture that you find online can be used in your project. Is that true or is that false? It is false. You cannot use anything, right? It's probably not the end of the world if you use an image that you don't 100% have the rights to, but I'd like to teach you what the ethical thing for using images is, because the images that you find online were taken by a photographer. There are photographers that make a living by selling photography. So if you just take their image because it was online for some reason, it probably wasn't online for you to just be able to use. Now, does that mean that a photographer is going to be upset if a 6th, 7th, or 8th grade student uses a picture in their project? No. However, think about using images that you have the rights to use, right? When I create content for Heron TV, I try to be 100% in the fair use category for finding images, finding media, things like that. The same goes with music. You can't just find music online and use it unless you pay for it. And if you pay for it, you can't post it to your video on YouTube because that's a different license. And we're not going to get into all that right now, but the music I use on Heron TV is from a music subscription service. And so the same sort of thing goes for finding images. You want to use ones that you have the rights to use, and I'm going to show you how. Here's how you do it. You look for things with a Creative Commons license. So when you search for images directly in any Google application, they're automatically labeled for reuse. So here's a screenshot from just a presentation I was working on. In fact, this presentation, I went insert and I did search the web and I searched for a frog and pictures came up. And when you search directly inside a Google application, you have the rights to use those images. So you're okay there. However, if you just go out into the bold wide world of Google to search, which is great, you'll find some cool pictures. You just have to make sure that you still have the right. So here's how you do an advanced search. You go to google.com, search for images, and choose advanced search and choose Creative Commons as the type of usage rights. So usage rights is always at the bottom. And when you do, these will be images that you have the rights to use. Pretty simple. Okay? So now that you have found images that you have the rights to use, let's talk about downloading the image to your computer, right? Or to your Chromebook. Make sure to download the largest size image as possible. be sure not to download the thumbnail. This is a common mistake that people have where they just download a preview. So hold down Control and click on the image and choose Save Image. If you're on a Mac, it is Command. So save image as, it goes to your Downloads Manager. You'll be able to find your file. You'll be able to add it into your presentation. I think sometimes on a Chromebook, you can even just copy it to the clipboard and then use it again. So that works nicely. Just make sure you know where your image is going and you find a picture, right? Okay, look at this picture. Ugh. Thumbnails are small previews of an image. This looked fine on a page with 50 pictures, but once you make it large, it looks really, really blurry. The resolution of this is 255 by 198. Those are fairly low numbers for a photo versus, look at this clear frog. I can see him so much better, all those details. And this is a full-size image. It looks better as you make it larger. Here are the numbers on this one, which was 1951 by 1512. So a larger image, this would look fine on a 42-inch 1080 television set because those are what the numbers mean. Your television at home, if it is not a 4K TV, but if you're looking at a 1080, it is 1920 by 1080. So this is larger resolution than what's considered full HD. So looks good. You want to go for the largest images you can find. All right, you are going to save links to images that you use. Some teachers will require that you give citations to images for anything that you use. So you can always copy and paste the web address of a picture that you use, and then you can give credit to the owners of the files, right? Like I said before, if you're using a Google search function inside a Google application, it's going to save that information for you, and you are good to go. However, for our class, since we're going to use so many different images as we're downloading things to just make modifications, I don't need to see your citations, okay? But here's what I want to make sure you don't do. Notice this picture has all these little lines on here, right, over top of this couple that's taking a selfie. The reason why they have those there is because Deposit Photos wants me to buy this picture. They are in the business of selling stock photography. It is an absolute no-no to ever use watermarked work. So don't do it, okay? If you do, I will send it back to you. No credit for you. If you use watermarked work, you'll know what I mean when you find images. So only use the ones that you have the rights to use. And if you end up using an image that you're not 100% sure on, definitely don't use a watermarked image because they watermarked it so you can't use it, okay? All right, let's move on. Now that we understand images. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make our logo, and the way that we're going to do that is we're going to use Photopea just like we've done before. This one can be in any dimension at all. Doesn't matter because you're going to have a logo that you're going to just have. You can actually save it as a different type of file, a PNG, to make it hollow. I didn't talk about that before. Let's not get hung up on the details. But you're going to create your design in any shape that you'd like using Photopea. After you make your design, right, you'll save an image, you'll drag it on. Go back and watch any of the videos from the last week or in the slides about how to use Photopea, or just come to office hours. I am happy to help you learn all the specifics of this program. And yes, the number one question I get is, does it work on a Chromebook? Yes, it works on a Chromebook, right? It might be a little slow, especially if your internet isn't very fast and you're trying to move around a lot of images at once because it's all working on the internet. But it should work. So when you're done, you're going to save this 2 ways, right? Maybe even save it 3 ways for this one. This could be a good experiment to try. So what we're going to do is we're going to save it as a PSD file. That is a file that we can make revisions to. we're going to export it as a JPEG so that it's just a regular old picture that can show up in a gallery. And then also try doing it as a PNG also, right? A PNG can be a transparent one. So mine was transparent that I put over top of my background on that very first slide. So give that a shot. So try it downloading as a PS or as a PNG. That's the top one there. We talked about PNGs in our Google Drawing Way at the beginning, but you can do the same in a Photopea. All right, so here we go. That's it. So we learned the fundamentals of graphic design. We learned how to download images from the internet that are fair use images, and then we're going to create a logo. So attach the JPEG to the assignment in Classroom. Maybe even attach the PNG. That would be great. You can attach multiple files. I don't care which way you attach it, but I would like to be able to see it attached directly. Make sure you add that. And that's just about it. So I'm going to get out of here. I will see you in the next video. Remember to never stop creating and have an excellent week. Good luck with Photopea. Hope to see you in office hours. No, that's it. I'm not doing anything fancy. Do you know how long it took to make this intro? All right, see you guys.